And he has a palace here. Okay, guys, we're live again.
Yes, Alice.
We have gone live. Guys, we're going to start out we have a jam-packed agenda today, so forgive me if I move us on. I'm going to try to keep us on point today. Before we get started, though, I do want to remind anybody who's watching this to subscribe to this YouTube channel, please.
And like the
We'll
video.
give you all the good content we can, and long as Jason and Paul are around, they'll give you all the up-to-date facts that they know about, and I'll just kind of like sit here and listen. But yeah, and share it with your friends, guys, and go over to the 2 Facebook pages that represent this podcast, Iowa Hawkeye Sports and Everything Iowa Sports. So go and give us a like on those 2 Facebook pages, and you'll also get up-to-date news there first before you'll get it here. Okay, so let's start off with, I just want to start off by recapping the Maryland win last night, 81-67. And so the guys, we won. We had 9 turnovers compared to 12 for them, and we had 7 steals compared to 5 steals for them. Philip Rabacha only had 4 points, which is very unusual for him. I know he didn't play a lot in the first half, but after I rewatched the game, he only sat out the last 7 minutes of the first half, so he should have had more points, but that's fine.
No, that wasn't the way this game was going. This game was for the guards.
Yeah,
they were defending Rabracha, right?
Yeah,
and they let the guards go off, and it worked.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, it was nice to see both Perkins and Euless have a good night. They played to their capabilities that we know they're capable of, instead of some of the junk that they were doing earlier.
All of the guards played well.
Yeah, they did. So yeah, Euless with 9 points, Perkins with 22, Connor with 12. Bowen didn't get any points. He had nothing, no stats at all. Sanford with 12, Dix with 1. I did find it kind of funny that Mulvey only played like a minute 19, and he could have played that whole 7 minutes that in the first half. Was he just ineffective? Is that why he pulled him in favor of the 5 guards? Because that's when we went to the 5 guard.
Right. No, I think they've been practicing, like Josh Dix said, with him at point guard. I think they've been practicing that 5 guard lineup to get some quickness on the floor.
Okay.
So they went to it, and it worked. I mean, it was magic. They got up by 16, right? 37. Yeah, 37-21.
They were up by 16 at one point. Yeah. So yeah,
I think it was all planned out, and it worked just to see what would happen when they went the speed lineup where Connor actually played the 5.
Yeah.
But I was just looking.
Yeah, I could tell
that. Connor played the whole game. He only sat for 49 seconds of game time. That's crazy.
I have him sitting only 18 seconds. Unless I misread his stats.
Here it has him, on this spreadsheet, it has him 49 seconds. Okay,
that's fine.
Perkins finally did what we've been asking him to do for a while. I don't know what happened because he's not a 3-point shooter, right? But when he goes to the basket, he's tough to handle. And when they went to that 5 guard lineup, they spread the floor, and Perkins just took everybody off the dribble. God, that was fun. And with Connor making his threes, you can't back off Connor anymore. I mean, that was the most I've had in a while watching basketball.
Yeah. Let's talk about Connor, guys. Last year, the last couple of seasons, people were on him because he wasn't scoring much, maybe 2-3 points a game, and every time he threw up something, everybody would cringe because they knew it wasn't going in. And the guy changes this year, and now he's become everybody's hero, and everybody likes him, like, how the Iowa fickle fans are. How fickle the Iowa fans are. What do you think about that?
I think Connor has had the kind of turnaround year that Iowa fans were hoping Spencer Petras would have, right? I mean, here's a guy who's been in the program for years, and obviously, the situations are different, but are they? I mean, certainly everybody knew Connor could feed the post, but we all kind of, at least I did, I always kind of wondered, well, did that have more to do with who he was feeding than his ability to make, because it's an entry post pad. This isn't rocket science. But, I mean, defenses used to, we lost Dean. Defenses used to just sag off of Connor. Like they begged him, hey, shoot it, man. We'll sit down. Shoot the ball, dude. Like,
Yeah. But it was due to injuries. Yeah. But the fact that you brought up Spencer kind of takes away from what I was going to say, because Spencer balled out in high school too, right? But so did Connor. But Connor, I guess the difference is Connor was hitting threes in high school, which translates to hitting threes in college more than the quarterback position, right? Because if you're open in high school, you're open in college. It's not very – what is it, an extra foot? Like foot and a half maybe from three. So I guess it's a lot easier for Connor to keep his high school days alive. And what it is, in my opinion, it's just Connor's finally healthy. No baseball. He's been this because what you're seeing now is what he did in high school.
Right.
And that's why everybody knew. That's why his dad knew. Everybody knew Connor could shoot. Because if you're hitting, like I said, if you're hitting wide open shots in high school, you can hit wide open shots in college. I mean, it's not like reading a defense for a quarterback. But you're right. I think this is what everybody was praying for Petrus to be like, is what you're seeing out of Connor. Because if Connor gave this to us last year, imagine how potent that team would have been last year as well.
Yeah.
Connor is he's the rock, right? And being able to play the five because he's so physical allowed that 5-guard lineup to happen, right? I mean, it was pretty cool. Now he got bodied a couple of times, if you guys remember. I mean, there was a couple of times where he got beat up, and Maryland scored. But for the most part, Maryland couldn't get their offense in order because the defense was so fast. Having all those guards out there, it was tough for them to pass the ball. They were turning the ball over. Iowa was getting easy buckets. Iowa was getting wide open shots in the half-court offense. So, it was fun. I was hoping to see it in the second half, but we didn't. But, But Chris wasn't on the floor either for the 5-guard lineup. And you don't want to have Chris only played 27 minutes. So, you don't want him to be off the floor very often, in my opinion.
The two words I would use to describe that Maryland game was arm's length. I mean, like, basically, Iowa held Maryland at an arm's length the whole game. We talked about them getting up 16. And, I mean, Maryland did come back a little bit. I think at one point they might have got as close as like 6. They kind of chipped away. Next thing, right out of halftime, I think they might have scored like the first 7 or 8 points, like right out of half. They hit a quick 3, a couple of quick buckets or whatever, and
2 quick threes,
and then a 2. Yeah. I mean, the quick 8 points, but then we came right down, and that might have been the Perkins slam, the thunder dunk to answer that. It just Iowa seemed to have an answer against Maryland. Like the game was never in doubt. It seemed like.
Yeah, it wasn't. It was always around 10 points.
Yeah.
They cut it to 8 for a few seconds. Iowa would get it back up to 12, 13.
Right.
It would drop down to like 9, and then it'd go back up. So
there was a point early in the first part of the second half where they did get it down to 3, but Iowa didn't flinch.
Right. There was that point. It wasn't in the beginning. It was like halfway.
Yeah, that's what I was saying about the first part of the
And then they came all the way back, got it within 3, but then Iowa, once it got within 3, then that's when Iowa just took it back out to 10. So
the best news for Iowa coming out of that Maryland game, if you ask me, is what you had talked about. Rebraca, 4 points. Chris Murray, I think he had 2 points at halftime.
Yeah, he scored all of his points in the second half. Yeah.
But I mean, even with getting basically nothing from those two guys, Iowa still went into halftime with it might have been a double-digit lead.
It was 10 points. It was 42-32.
Yeah.
Or 43-33.
Yeah, that was up 10, yeah.
And that's with really your two main guys not contributing in the scoring column.
But I think that was by design by Maryland, right? I think they wanted to see if Perkins would wake up. I think they wanted to see if Josh Dix could continue to hit threes and Stanford continue to hit threes, right? If he went back into his shell, Iowa doesn't win this game.
Yeah.
Because you can't leave. Iowa is proving to have so many shooters that you have to pick your poison. Maryland chose to let the guards get theirs and, stop Rebraca, guard the paint. I mean, Rebraca was getting beat up, right? And that's why he had his fouls. Chris didn't do very well, but he also didn't shoot very much. Chris is one of those guys that lets the game come to him. He doesn't take it. So he
honestly, go ahead.
He wasn't open a lot until the guards started hitting their shots. And I think that's why you saw what Chris did in the second half is because Maryland's like, well, who the heck do we guard?
Right.
He gets his 19 points, but he did it very quietly. You almost didn't realize he was doing it.
Well, you knew, you're right. It was quiet for like 3/4 of the game, but that last 8 minutes or whatever, like you said, when Maryland cut it down, and all of a sudden Chris hits 2 threes. Like he hit, and it was from the corner, I think. Like both of them, where he was just standing in the corner, nobody around him, and he just threw it up. So,
guys, I tried to post the current standings as of right now, but it didn't look like it was coming up too well on the screen. So I just wanted to go run down it real quick. Purdue's first place at 5-1. Surprisingly, Rutgers is 5-2 in second place. Michigan State and Michigan are tied for third place at 4-2. Iowa's in fifth place at 4-3. Illinois is 3-3. Northwestern 3-3. Penn State at 3-3. Wisconsin at 3-3. And then you got Indiana at 2-4. Maryland at 2-4. Ohio State at 2-4. Nebraska at 2-5, and finally Minnesota at 1-4.
We can correct you on Michigan State's actually 4-3, tied with Iowa. So they're tied for fourth.
Okay, I just took it off the internet today. Asked for the current standings and that.
Purdue beat Michigan State today.
So Purdue's probably 6-1 then. Okay. So that wasn't up to date, but yeah. Okay, so Michigan's actually in third place. All righty. Way to go, Michigan. That means we beat 2 teams ahead of us. In the standings.
Well, we've also lost to Nebraska.
In Eastern Illinois.
Yeah. Hey, we keep winning, and we win this week against Northwestern. They're tied with us in the standings, so that will give us one up on them. And then next week we got Ohio State. They're behind us in the standings, and we want to keep it that way.
On Saturday. There's a big women's basketball game next Saturday everybody needs to watch. They're playing Ohio State, number 2 ranked Ohio State next Saturday. On
At Ohio State, I believe.
On ESPN2.
Yeah.
You know the time?
That's going to be huge. Yeah, that'll be huge. Hopefully they can do what they haven't done against some other ranked teams this year except for Iowa State, is actually go in there and win.
It's at 6 o'clock Saturday night.
Okay, 4 o'clock my time.
They got Central Time, my bad. They got to take care of Michigan State on Wednesday night, and that's going to be a huge game. Iowa moved back up into the top 10 if you guys didn't see.
Yeah.
I will tune into that right after my Jaguars knock off the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah, that ain't happening, Paul. I'm sorry. Your Jaguars have got as far as they're gonna go.
I don't know. It's the NFL. You never know.
Yeah. Hey, by the way, I was looking on YouTube. Somebody, I don't know where the Waffle House was, but it was definitely somewhere in Jacksonville.
Oh yeah.
The guys and their wives or girlfriends walking in at the Waffle House in the middle of the night. How cool is that?
They got a standing ovation coming in too.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what they said about the Jaguars in 1996. As a Broncos fan, I remember that year.
Did they beat you in the Super Bowl?
No, they beat us in the divisional playoff, the round of the
Oh, yeah, that's right. They're in the same division.
The Broncos had the number 1 seed, home field advantage throughout the playoffs, and Jacksonville and Mark Brunell came in and beat us. So, yeah, you don't know. They could beat the Chiefs. You just don't know. It's the NFL. Everybody gets paid money for a reason.
That's it.
Well, guys, let's talk a little bit about Northwestern coming up. I've found some interesting facts in doing some research on Northwestern. They're first in the conference in turnover margin at 4.9 a game. They're second in the conference in scoring defense, holding teams to 60 points a game. And second in forced turnovers per game, 15.5 a game. So they're not to be messed with. This seems to me like, just reading these stats, that this might be type of a game Iowa might have a little trouble with. But then again, I don't know.
I mean, they'll have trouble with anybody. They've already proved that. They just have to continue to play, and the shooters have to continue to stay hot, right? If they could beat anybody in the country, anybody, if they're hitting their shots. Like, even those games they lost, I bet you could think of 5 or 6 wide open threes that Iowa missed, right? With nobody around them. Every game. So as long as they continue to shoot and play defense. Last game, they were unbelievable on defense.
Yeah. So, I don't remember how close the game was with Nebraska, but the other 2 Big Ten losses, we could have won those very easily.
Yeah, Penn State, they should have won. I mean, that was –
yeah.
So, with against Northwestern, this particular game for me, it's going to come down to which team can impose their will on the other as far as tempo of the game. Northwestern is going to want to slow the game down, keep it a low-scoring affair. Iowa is much more happy in a fast-paced, up-tempo style of play. So, can Northwestern slow us down? Can we speed them up?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know what Northwestern's offense average is. I didn't find that stat. I'd look for it.
They're good. They're a very good half-court offense. Yeah. I've watched them a few times, and I mean they play. They're really good.
They don't run the Princeton offense anymore, do they?
No.
Imagine if they had their best player, Nance, who went to Duke. Yeah. He transferred to Duke this year.
Yeah.
Do they remind anybody else of Rutgers? Their style?
Well, they're not as rough. They're not as strong defensively. They don't beat you up, but they go slow like Rutgers. They do
slow the game down.
They run the half court offense. A lot of picks, screens, and they play zone defense. So I was going to get a lot of wide open shots in that zone, right?
Yeah. They got a guy that's first in the Big Ten in steals. He's got 49 steals this year, which works out to almost 3 steals a game. So I would think that if he's getting 3 steals a game, they got some nice runouts going on there, quite a bit too, other than the half court.
They're pretty good, but like I said, I mean, for me, it's like, remember when I got a little angry at Perkins when I made that Facebook? They haven't lost since I did that, by the way. Should I take credit?
There you
go ahead. Yeah. Hey, but why not?
But, I mean,
why not?
If Perkins continues to do what he did, if Stanford stays hot, and obviously Chris is going to do what he does, maybe Rebracha comes back and starts scoring again, because they can't just pack the lane and leave the shooters wide open, right?
Right.
I mean, Iowa's got a very good team. They have the team I thought they had in the beginning of the year when I picked them to win 24 games this year.
Right.
They really do, but they started off slow, right? Maybe they hit their stride.
They kind of lost themselves at first for a while there.
I'm kind of nervous about Patrick coming back.
Right.
I hope he doesn't start. I pray he doesn't start.
Yeah.
I don't
Let's speak about Patrick coming back. He's dressing for the game. It doesn't mean he will play, and it doesn't mean that he will start. It doesn't even if he does play, maybe he just has a few minutes just to kind of test himself out. You know.
I mean, I'm good with that. I hope if he comes back and he's Patrick, then that's great, right? If he plays the way he's capable of.
Mm-hmm.
But there's also a thing called chemistry, and especially in basketball, right?
Right.
These guys
they have
playing well together, so that kind of makes me nervous with him coming back.
Yeah.
Well, he's been away long enough.
Yeah. Well, that's what I thought too. That 3-game losing streak, we all noticed that Patrick wasn't himself. Something was wrong, and at the time we didn't know what was going on. We just thought he lost focus and didn't care,
I'm just afraid that it's kind of like the college kid. Oh man, they're winning now, right? I need to get back on this team.
Yeah, because they haven't lost a game since he sat out.
I think they're 2-0, right? He's only been out 2 games, right?
No, he's been out 4. He's been out the whole 4. He sat out the very last game that after they lost. He's been sitting out since then. And they've been on a 4-game winning streak since he's.
No, I know they're on a 4-game winning streak. I didn't realize it's been that long. So it's been 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. They didn't win while he was still in the game. I know that, and so
he would be he would definitely be a nice piece to have come off the bench.
Especially with his size. Right?
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Working back into that role because. If his anxiety is as bad as he says it was, I can't imagine just knowing what I know about it from personal experience, not myself, but other people that I know and in my family, that he'd be that much ready to come back already. But that's up to him, though. That's his deal. But, guys, Wednesday is also going to be Chris Street night. So, guys, I don't know where you guys were or when you heard the news or when you saw the news for the first time, but I know I was right here in California, and my buddy had come into work and told me that it had happened and kind of shook me up all night. And I was trying to, back then it was hard to get any news because internet wasn't a big deal yet and cell phones and new social media. So it was hard for me to get any kind of good news. To find out what was going on. All the news I did find out, I turned on ESPN and found out there. But yeah, I was at work stocking shelves when my buddy came to work and told me what had happened because he'd heard it on his car radio on the way to work. And what about you guys, Paul?
Well, I was a young guy at this time.
You both were, but
I was a sophomore in high school.
Oh, were you? Okay.
This was one of the first stories that I can remember that transcended sports. I mean, I think I first saw it reported on SportsCenter because I was watching SportsCenter, at the time. I mean, this would have been back in the day when like Chris Berman was working SportsCenter,
right?
But I believe I even saw the story on like say ABC National News, something like this story managed to the tragic death. It was one of the few times where something that was kind of sports related that I can remember seeing it on even the regular national news. This was it was sad, and I remember the Michigan game after that. I remember the AC Earl with the 40 in his head stuff. So
yeah, I back then I was not watching TV. I had no clue until the Iowa-Michigan game. I didn't know anything until then because I was just busy doing other stuff or whatever in high school. And I don't watch the news. Still to this day, I don't really watch the news. The wife watches it when she's getting ready for work and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But if it wasn't for like Facebook and Twitter, I wouldn't even know what's going on. And I
okay.
And there's so much going on now. I wish I didn't know.
So, yeah, true.
But yeah, I wasn't like I had no clue if something had happened. Now, granted, we didn't, like you said, we didn't have the internet and all that. So you legit would have to watch the news to hear anything. And it wasn't until it must have been that Michigan game. That was their first game, right?
That was their first game, yeah.
That was televised anyway. That because I still watched the games, obviously, but that was about all I did. kind of like me now. The only thing I watch is football, and then Iowa basketball. That's about like what I watch, and baseball. But yeah, I don't remember what I was doing or anything because I don't remember the exact moment. But
all right, that's fair enough.
And I gotta say too, I didn't get to watch a lot of Chris Street's basketball games down here in Florida. I mean, we're talking. This was, again, this predates the Big Ten Network. It predates even like the NCAA full court, whatever that's called. What was called, where you could get,
you would have to live in Iowa.
Yeah, I mean,
we got the games.
Yeah,
you guys probably got the games on like what was not WHO, but
the Iowa Television Network.
Iowa Television,
the games back then.
Iowa Public TV, that kind of thing. Yeah, I mean,
were Mac McCausland and who's the other one?
Larry.
They would do all the games.
Yeah.
So whatever channel they were on, it was on basic cable, whatever that channel was. I can't remember the name of it, but
they was on like all the local channels. Like for me in Waterloo, they were on like the local KWWL Channel 7, the Channel 2s, Channel 13, and I can't remember the channels over in Cedar Rapids and
I mean even
stuff. But it was all the local channels.
Yeah.
It wasn't until like the early 2000s that you could get ESPN Full Court or there was a college football one too. It was
well, and every Iowa game would be on ESPN like
Plus,
yeah,
but you had to pay for the. Oh, what was that? I paid for $150 for the football season, another $120 for the basketball season. Wrestling didn't get on TV at all. There was no wrestling.
That was back when the ESPN had that on-demand channel, which I post today as the Plus.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and you could buy individual games because I only bought certain football games that were on there.
Yeah,
living out here in California because I didn't want the whole season, and I didn't want to see all their football games. So, and then I found out something because I was coaching soccer during that time. I set the DVR to record or VHS to record, and to record the games, but I found out the games on demand didn't record. Imagine me wanting to go home and watch an Iowa game, put the tape in, and it's blank.
Right.
It's pretty crazy that ever since say the advent of the Big Ten Network, Iowa hasn't not had a football game on TV for sure. Some of the basketball games they put on their BTN Plus app or whatever, but
not very many though.
Not only a couple a year or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Right.
But contrast that against like Iowa State. There's only sometimes they may not have three or four of their games on TV at all.
You read my mind. I was just going to say, listen to us complain, and then there's Iowa State still today.
Right, and that just seems unfathomable that the Big 12 couldn't work out a deal that their games aren't available. I mean, you can still watch the Cyclones on the Cyclone.net or something that are not being televised on their live streaming channel, but you have to pay for that if you're a Cyclone fan.
For me to watch Iowa State, Paul, like you were saying, even today, I have to have Big 12 or ESPN Plus because they do the Big 12 games, right?
Right.
You have to actually watch them on the internet. Like you can't watch them on Fox Sports or anything like that very often.
No.
Right.
No, it's just amazing because lately Iowa State basketball games have been showing up on regular TV. It's like, my God, it's an Iowa State game.
They got to be top 15 in the country for that to happen.
Well, they played like Kansas the other day to a 3-point and lost.
They moved up to 12th in the country, I think.
Yeah.
Playing Kansas helps too because Kansas will get on TV. So playing Kansas will get you there. And
that's a good point. If you're playing Kansas, you're probably going to be on TV.
All right, guys, let's move on to some of these football questions. Because I don't want to keep Paul up too late. He's trying to fall asleep.
Who's trying to fall asleep?
Paul.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You gotta go to bed, buddy.
Okay, we're gonna switch this over to football talk. You guys had some stuff that you kind of want to discuss, and I think the first thing on the thing is I didn't quite read the whole thing, Paul, but you wanted to know something about down and distance and location on the field for play. And I mean, if you want to ask that question to Jason the way you want it read properly.
I got you. So, this is kind of our coach's corner here with Coach Hack. And, now Coach, have you been a play caller in the past?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
All right. Air raid offense. Yeah. Not Iowa style. I wouldn't run Iowa's offense. But go ahead.
Okay. So, for novice, hey, I just like to sit down and eat my wings dipped in ranch and get fatter and watch football, right? Like that's a lot of people.
I love wings.
And they get their Cheeto fingers and as soon as something doesn't go right, they're on their Twitter, fire XYZ.
They get Cheeto dust in their cleavage.
Exactly. Yes. And so there is a method to the madness, right? And the method to the madness of play calling. And I was just curious, how much does down and distance and where you are on the field, how does that play into a play caller's playbook, as play selections? How do those things impact or factor play selection?
Everything. That's, you literally have now, not everybody. Mike Leach did not do this. You guys, we all saw Mike Leach. Yes, I'm going to talk about Mike Leach. We all saw Mike Leach with his little piece of paper, right? His play call sheet was literally on this little piece of paper because he literally only had 25 plays, but they were ran out of a bunch of different formations. So you didn't legit know exactly what he was doing. But most play callers will have, when you see people with those big cards, those big cutouts, laminated, it's going to be okay, 10 plays. All right, second down and 10 plays, and so on. Third and long plays, my favorite 2-point conversion plays. You're going to have a list that you've already went over throughout the week, and you talk to your quarterback. Okay, what play do you like in this situation? Stuff like that. Down and distance, and this is why, Paul, you and I, this was back when you were drinking, but would get into a little bit because you like to call Brian the P word. Because he would run the ball on third and long, and that's why I think you even started doing it with me. I'd be like, oh no, look, the Chiefs ran the ball on 3rd and 10, when we started doing that stuff. It's because you don't, when you see a team, this is a big one I get, you guys are going to have to shut me up because I could talk for an hour on just this alone. Just warning you. But a big thing is, when you design a play, okay, let's talk about that play that the Vikings did on 3rd and 8 or 4th and 8 at the end of the game in the playoffs yesterday. Did you guys see that?
Oh, yes.
Yeah. And they threw it to Hawkinson on a 4-yard out, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that wasn't how it was designed, right? He still had another read, but he felt the pressure. And what's better, taking the sack or getting it out and hoping Hawkinson can make a play? So all that is, you don't run a play that's designed to get 4 yards on a 4th and 8, but you have to have somebody short to help the quarterback, right? Mm-hmm. When this happens to Iowa, this is one of my biggest pet peeves with Iowa fans, because they literally think Iowa designs plays to not get the first down, right? And that's about the quarterback. If you look, other receivers are running routes too, deeper, but the reason why they hit the check down is either because it's covered or they don't see it, right? They don't see it and they just want to get the ball out of their hands and hope somebody makes a play. It's not like Brian designs plays to not get a first down, or it goes all the way back to Ken O'Keefe for some people, right? You design plays to get first downs, but it doesn't always work like that. Granted, in my mind, on that 4th and 8 call, I would probably tell the quarterback, if you're trying to get rid of it, you throw it to somebody that's at least 8 yards, right? On a 4th down, you almost have to. If that was 3rd and 8, that would have been fine because then you'd have 4th and 4, right? But I would have probably told, Cousins, you got to throw it to somebody that's passed. Even if it's intercepted, this is it. This is game, right? Give somebody a chance to get the first. But those play calls are designed to get first downs, but the quarterback makes the decision, and you have to have a short receiver that's short so the quarterback can get rid of the ball. So just in case, what if Hawkinson breaks that tackle, gets the first, and it would have been great, right? It just turns out he didn't do that. But throughout, okay, I'll talk about, do you remember the Iowa State game in 2019? Iowa was in. This was an Iowa play. Iowa was in, and they had Nate Stanley, and they had ISM. These guys connected, right? It was 2nd and 24. Do you remember this? It was in the fourth quarter, and it was like 10 minutes ago or whatever. But they needed the first down. Well, what they do, they went and got the first down. ISM got open, and he hit him for like 25 yards, and it was a drill by Nate Stanley. But the play was designed to get there. It just turned out that was open, so it worked. It wasn't like they weren't going to design a play to not get a first down. It's if the play's open. You got to realize sometimes the defense wins, right? Sometimes the defense just guesses right. It's not like it's the play call. You're not at home on the couch going to say, oh, I would have ran this. Yeah, you would have ran it after the play already happened, right? I mean, that's the biggest thing that kills me. But as you're getting down the field, it's all about time on the clock, everything. If you have a good defense, if you don't have a good defense, like Minnesota, the Vikings, you have to call plays differently because if you don't score or you make a mistake, your defense isn't going to stop anybody. Iowa, on the other hand, which drives fans crazy, but it wins games, is because you have such a good defense. Why would you force the ball to get a pick six? Like, why would you – this is you, Paul, because you yelled at me on this one, but you were drunk. I'll give you that. Iowa had – see if you remember this. Iowa had I want to say it was a 3rd and 12, like inside the 30-yard line, and they ended up running the ball. And then you were all in our chat saying, what up, P word, and you need to be throwing for the first down or whatever. And, but when you have Iowa's defense – 3 points is a lot of points. 3 points when you're Iowa is a lot different than other teams, right? Like as you're working your way down the field, situations come up that dictate the play calls. Granted, there are a lot of plays. I'm not going to sit here and, promote Brian, but there's a lot of plays where he runs too many times, like that tight end screen. When it works one time, you'll just keep going back to it. That's not really how you do it. You do it maybe a couple times, but after that, unless you're in high school, they're going to pick up on it. You're going to have keys to every play that you're going to come up and you're going to be like, oh, I've seen this. Oh, this is the tight end screen play, right? So there's plays like that, but there's also a lot of plays that he designs that have wide open receivers, right?
Another question that kind of follows this up here, right? Because again, as fans, we love to blame the play caller, right? When things aren't going well. How much of it too is, and I hate to use the E word, execution, right? But if you're sitting on a 3rd and 5, and the play call is for some shallow crossers, pick play type things, and that at some points too, isn't it on the receivers or the tight ends or whoever, to run a 4-yard route on 4th, or run a 5-yard route so that they can come back to the football, right? And so
on those mesh routes that you're talking about, which is what it is, and that's a staple in the air raid, is the mesh. All those crossing routes. The difference in the air raid is when you're running crossing routes and you notice it's zone, you either stop or you go into a hole behind the linebackers, right? As you're coming across, you have to recognize the defense because the quarterback has to recognize the defense. That's what the air raid does. But, yeah, every route you run, even let's just say it's a 10-yard out route. Every route you run at 1 yard deeper and you come back 1 yard. So if it's a 10-yard out route, it's really an 11, but you have to angle your route coming back to the football, right? So because if you flatten it out and run just a 10 and out, then that's an easier pick six. It's easier for the corner to get in front of you. But if you go 11 and then come back like to the first down, then you're coming back to the football, which is a lot harder to be picked. Mm-hmm. Most of the time, if you run that good of a route, if it's picked, it's on the quarterback, right? But you're right. There are some picks that are on the receivers because they don't do the right things, which is on coaching, or the receiver just doesn't understand what he's supposed to do. Because that's basic high school routes. You always run a route 1 yard deeper than what the distance you want. There's never a 10-yard out route. It's really an 11-yard out route, but you're coming back. So you have that extra yard to come back to the ball at an angle, not like straight back like a hook, but at an angle. So, yeah, I mean, that's all part of execution. That's what makes football the best sport when it comes to a team. Everybody has to do their job like everybody. Right? You can't have one guy just go off, because even if you're the best running back in the country, if the line doesn't block, you're screwed. You're the if you're the best quarterback in the country, if your receivers don't do the right things that they're supposed to, you won't know where to throw the football. So,
and then one last part of this too. So, again, here we are. It's hypothetical. It's your average 3rd and 6, and now you've got 3 wide, a tight end, and a single back, and the play call sends your 2 outside guys down the field far enough to get the first down. You got a slot, the guy in the slot, he's doing a shallow cross, and then maybe you've got a tight end doing a dig or an out, something that fairly quick, and then the running back, if he doesn't have a blitzer to pick up, then he can go out to the flat, right? Okay, so that how much sometimes can you say, okay, well, the quarterback knows the play and he knows what everybody's supposed to be doing. He's reading the defense pre-snap. He's kind of predetermining that he's going to try to go to the football, and what we see are guys more open down the field, but we're settling for the quicker pass to the tight end, or we're trying to get the running back in the flat. And it looks bad, right? Like it looks like, well, why would you throw a 3-yard pass on 3rd and 7? And maybe some of it is just because, the quarterback is kind of predetermined where he's going to go with the football.
I mean, that's a lot of it, especially with our quarterbacks that we've had the last 3 years, right? But I'm going to pick on Brian. You could tell I want Jim Svoboda to jump on, because I mean that he's the only one I'd want more than Brian, because Brian knows what the heck he's doing. He gets wide open receivers. But it's also on Brian. This is my personal opinion, and this is how I coach. And you'll see a lot of other coaches do this. I want the quarterback to be to the line of scrimmage with 15 to 20 seconds left. We all know Brian doesn't do that. Stanley. Petrus will get up to the line of scrimmage, and you'll have 8 seconds left, right? 8-10 seconds left. That is so little time to actually read a defense, because you should have somebody come into motion. Iowa uses motion, right? So there's this other stuff that you have to do.
They're successful, they do.
Yeah, right. If they do it the right way, the way they did it against Purdue. But so you did that 8 seconds. Petrus is up there. He has no time to actually read the defense, and he's got to make sure, okay, this guy's coming in motion, right? All this is happening in 8 seconds. There was games, and we had this podcast where when Petrus actually played well, he got to the line of scrimmage with 15 to 20 seconds left, and he was able to actually look at the defense, kind of see it. You can't read a defense. You can't go to your primary receiver right away. There's a lot of times that a quarterback will go to the line of scrimmage and know what the primary receiver is, what the play is designed to go to, or who the play is designed to go to. And and execute it because he can get to the line of scrimmage and go, oh, this is going to be beautiful, right? I already know this is going to be wide open, and do it. You can't do that when you get to the line of scrimmage with 8 to 10 seconds left because you're a quarterback, so you have to make sure all the linemen are set. You got to make sure your running back's set. You got to make sure your wide receivers are out set before you say hike. Because if you start hurrying, you're going to have false starts or you're going to have people not set for that second. Because remember, everybody has to be set for a second before you say hike as well, right? Except for one guy. One guy can come in motion that doesn't have to be set, but everybody else does. This isn't Canada. Canada, 2 guys get to go in motion. But no, Paul, you're 100% right. Like, that's all part of what's wrong with Iowa's offense, too, is I know I pick on Peters. That's only because of his accuracy. I only pick on him when he's got a clean pocket and still misses a wide open receiver. But it's also on Brian to get him to the line of scrimmage with enough time to actually look over the defense. And what's weird is he did that for Nate. So I don't know if Nate was just maybe smarter, which he's a smart because he's got the record for the Wonderlic test, right? For the NFL. Did you guys know that? Mm-hmm. He got the record for the Wonderlic test in the NFL. But anyway, I don't know what the reason is behind Peters being slow out of the huddle. I don't know. It's impossible for me to know. I know somebody in that, football staff knows, but they probably wouldn't want to talk about it. But it's weird because with Nate, they did get to the line of scrimmage quicker. If you go back and watch a lot of Nate's games, he's up there, and those motions tell you what defense they're in, right? That a lot of those deep passes that Nate would hit would be on a motion where obviously if your receiver's going across the formation and the defender goes with them, they're in man. And if you have 2 deep safeties, they're in man under cover 2 with 2 deep, or if there's no safeties, they're completely man across the board, right? So there's so many things that you could do to help a quarterback out that I don't feel Brian did, at least this year. I'll say this year because I don't want to bang on the last 2 years because we were doing this, so I was just doing the gambling thing, right? And we're actually talking about it. So, but this year I can tell you for a fact, and I believe we even done a podcast on about what Peters' issues, what his strengths are, which is the no huddle. He's better at the no huddle when he gets up there,
right,
and does think. He's actually more accurate, like when they're going. Like, I mean, it's the craziest thing. Well, I mean, a lot of quarterbacks are.
Yeah, let's move on from that. I mean, Spencer Peters is no longer a quarterback, and so let's not dwell on that. But we have a question here that says, does Iowa and most teams signal in 2 plays, like maybe a running play and a pass play, and allow the quarterback to check in or check out of one of them?
Iowa doesn't. What Iowa does, and a lot of coaches do, and I think a lot of coaches send 3 plays in. Those quarterbacks you see that look at the sideline, I guarantee you I don't know how many, but there's multiple plays that they can run from that, and they all have key words, right? So when the quarterback looks at the sidelines and they give him whatever signal, he barks out that key word to everybody to run a play. Iowa, what they do is they go by the numbers. So let's just say that they're going to run through the 5 hole, right? It's a 35 stretch, whatever they call it, 25 stretch, through the 5 hole. That would be the 2 back through the 5 hole. But when they get up there and it's strong left and they see a lot of bodies over there and they see they have numbers here, like man on man with the fullback, there'd be 3 blockers with the fullback being the 4th. They're going to audible that. That's kind of their audible system is the core. That's another thing why the quarterback should get to the line of scrimmage quicker. Then he gets to see the numbers game. And it's the same with the passing game. They didn't do that this year. I mean, my mind is just boggled. We all blame the offensive line when a lot of it was on the quarterback too. Poor Jack Plum took a beating on that one where he blocked inside and let the rusher go. You guys remember that?
Yeah. Everybody remembers that one.
That was a slide protection. He was only doing what he was told. So if he would have blocked the outside guy and whiffed and somebody went inside, he would have got yelled at. Mm-hmm. So he did what he was told because Padilla didn't tell him, didn't change the protection. Padilla didn't even know that guy was blitzing, right? That's on the quarterback. He should have known this guy's coming. Hey, Jack, cancel the slide protection. You got that guy, or whatever they have, right? Yeah. Obviously, that's not how they say it, but whatever their key words would be. So that's how they would have to do it. But they didn't do that. So they don't call it 2 plays. What they do is they let the quarterback adjust the play, like run. That's what, if you guys noticed, I'm sure you have, that Iowa runs so many run plays to the sideline.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's why. Because obviously most of the time the strong side of the defense is going to be on the wide side of the field, right? And so Iowa will just continue to pound it to the short side of the field. That's why, because it's all a numbers game.
Okay. All right, let's talk about next year's defense. We kind of know with the offense who's coming, who's going, and everything, and we won't have any answers on the offense until we have spring practice, hopefully.
Hold on. Paul, did you get that? Like, is that what you were interested in?
Yeah.
Okay. I wanted to make sure.
Okay. So what do we have to be excited for the defense for next year? Are we going to be as elite? Do we have the right guys in place to come in next year and take over?
Defense is going to be just as good.
It's Phil Parker. I mean, until something changes, the defense is going to be good.
Their defensive line is still stacked. I mean, their linebackers, obviously, we're going to have some new linebackers, but they've all played. Right. They've all played well, right? Yeah, I mean, but the defensive backs, I think, are going to be better. I think X is going to take a step above Merriweather. I think Castro in the cash is pretty good. I think that's the spot where he should be because he's not a very good cover guy, but he's a great – so he's like having another linebacker in there for stopping the run when they have their cash out.
Do we have another Jack Campbell waiting in the wings?
Well, that's what we're going to find out. I mean, I don't know if there is another Jack. There's nobody at 6'5" that runs like a deer, right?
Yeah,
I mean, they're going to be able to stuff the run and do what they do. They won't tip as many balls, because Jack is so tall. He would tip a lot of balls that got picked. But I think the defense is going to be stellar, just like we said this year. Everybody was worried about this year. Remember when we did our preseason? Right. It turned out to be the best.
Yeah, to the point about the D-line being stacked, didn't I hear once somebody said that Yahweh Black, they were potentially looking at him to move to the offensive line?
To guard.
That is out there, yeah.
Yeah, to guard, not tackle. Like some people are saying, I was told that they want to look at him at guard.
Okay.
Because their D-line is still stacked. Yeah. Now, losing Hercules, to the NFL, maybe they don't do it because they'll need Black possibly. I think that all depends on what the other defensive linemen do.
Okay.
Because I think they've gotten so used to having fresh bodies on the D-line that they don't want to, go back to, remember Norm Parker days?
Oh, yeah.
They started to play the whole game.
That was awful. the starter, and we stayed in that 4-3 defense.
No matter what.
No matter what.
Okay.
So I think they've gotten used to it. So I think Black moving over to guard is it's going to depend on all the other kids on defense.
All right. Moving on here. Everybody seems to want to know about, the transfer portal, what we have. Like we only picked up one wide receiver. We struck out on our number one targeted wide receiver. Is Iowa going after another wide receiver? Or do we have enough to go next year that we can make it work with the 2 tight ends that we're bringing in the portal?
That was the question that was my question.
Yeah.
Like I was supposed to get all the facts on and I forgot.
Oh.
This is the question I'm getting. So now people who keep messaging me, if they watch this, they're going to be like, God, son of a. Because I forgot. I mean,
I watched this whole show.
I watched this whole show to get my wide receiver question not answered.
Right. I don't have the exact numbers, but they have a lot of scholarship wide receivers. Everybody's trying to say they only have 2. No, they don't only have 2. They have 3 scholarship wide receivers that are 6'4" or taller. So we are going to be different as far as that's concerned. And Cade will throw it up and let those guys get it. So almost all of our wide receivers are above 6 foot.
Yeah.
Almost
they got to remember, too, that we got 2 excellent tight ends right now for next year ready to go. And they're going to, and if Iowa doesn't get a new offensive coordinator and we still have Brian's still going to run the offense through the tight ends first.
Well, I think that we'll see. It depends on the wide receivers again, right? Under Brian, the wide receivers have always led the team in receptions until Peters came along. Until Peters started throwing the ball to Laporta all the time.
Yeah, so, Laporta became the big guy.
The play calls aren't always to Laporta. That's just where Spencer.
Yeah. Well, we have Higini and who's the new guy that just started catching balls at the end of the season? He was
Vines?
hurt. Mostly.
Deontay Vines?
Deontay Vines. He's going to be a good one.
Yeah.
I'm so glad he stayed. He stayed because of Cade. He came out and said it. He came out and said it that the only reason he didn't enter the transfer portal is because that Cade's here. I mean, he came out and he made everybody think that we were getting a new offense coordinator too.
Right? Yeah, they both him and Cade have kind of hinted at that.
They hinted at a better offense is what they hinted at.
Yeah, had a pretty good bowl game, and what's his face, the kid from Ohio, quarterback, Labus, him and Vine seem to have a little thing going. So I mean, there's always that.
Yeah, they probably threw a lot to each other on the scout team a lot before Vines was elevated.
Oh yeah. I think Joey's good. I mean, I keep saying Cade because Cade's really accurate, but I think Joey, given some experience, can be really good.
Joey looked like there's a lot of potential in him.
Oh, heck yeah.
He showed a lot of potential until Brian screwed him up the second half and started slowing the game down because we were winning by.
I don't think that was Brian.
You don't think it was? I think it was Kirk.
The score was 21-0. We all knew. I even tweeted it saying, please, God, don't shut the offense down.
I said the same thing. I tweeted the same thing.
And I said,
you guys don't think they're going to come out and go conservative the second half? Everybody goes, no, I don't think so. Yeah, they did.
That's why I got so mad at Brian for not. If that was my last game, calling plays, boy, we would have been shooting for the stars. I wouldn't have cared. And I think that had a lot to do with the last 2 minutes of the game. You remember? The last 2 minutes, all of a sudden, we were throwing the ball deep, and the receivers were wide open. They should have been throwing the ball deep the whole game.
All right.
But you always got to learn to hit the deep ball. Put more air under it. That's all he's got to do.
Yeah.
But, yeah, no, I still think Brian's gone because I was told from a very reliable source. I hope for Jim Savoda if Brian's gone. I do not want Gaddis. I know what he did at Michigan, but everybody wants us to use the receivers. Gaddis don't use the receivers. Gaddis runs the ball. They won't throw the ball very often. They'll run it 65% of the time. Are we going to complain that the receivers are leaving because they don't get balls when Gaddis comes in and runs the show?
Right.
So I hope for Jim Savoda he doesn't have a job right now. I was really hoping when he voluntarily, left Tulane and they filled the position with the position coach. And we're here.
You know what? He may have already got the Iowa job, but they can't announce it yet. They got to wait for Brian to get his NFL job.
Yeah, I mean, that's silly because it wouldn't matter, right? He could still take whatever job if he
I think they want to leave. They want to leave like Brian's leaving on his own accord. Got offered a great opportunity with the Patriots or wherever he's going. Instead of saying, "Okay, this is our new offensive coordinator for next year," then everybody's going, "Well, what's Brian doing?" Well, we don't know yet. Okay, so Brian goes out and finds a job. So now it looks like Brian was fired because he gets a job after the fact. Does that make sense to you guys?
I mean, I don't believe in that kind of stuff. But like if it was me, I'd be like, okay, you're going, move to Boston, and apply for a job. It's not about what it looks like. Who the hell cares?
Yeah.
Coaches get fired all the time, and coaches get hired all the time.
Yeah.
So that's just
you
not.
guys find it funny that the last couple of weeks have been awfully quiet for Iowa football, the players, the coaches.
Well, it's been
after having almost daily news and daily reports and stuff, we have heard absolutely nothing. It's like the crickets are creaking over there, Kennick.
They're still. I mean, they got 5 guys for the 2024 class already, right? Swarm 2024 is in full swing.
Mm-hmm.
They're just recruiting their butt off right now is what they're doing.
Okay.
So let's just hope they continue and hope we eventually get – he's going to have a press conference, after signing day. So in February.
Right.
In 3 weeks? So maybe they're waiting for that big presser. Man, it's just – I don't know.
Yeah.
I know what I was told. And
Are we done with the transfer portal for now? Are we going to wait till the May transfer portal?
Yeah, because it's actually almost done, right? The early
well,
one.
They can enter. I mean, they can't enter anymore, but they can still pull people from it.
Right. That's what I'm saying is, but they already know everybody who's in it.
Right.
So if you're not going after somebody right now, you're not going to.
That's true. That's true.
what I meant by that.
Okay. All right, guys. This is a pretty good show. We actually organized it pretty well. We did pretty good, guys.
Yeah. It's good. It's exactly what.
Yeah. Thank you, Phil Parker, Paul, for joining us and your comments. The other 2 or 3 people that kept going in and out, we don't know who you are, but I wish you would have commented. Next time, leave a comment or ask a question, guys.
Phil Parker's Paul, you're 100% accurate on that. He wasn't happy. He was very unhappy. That's why he went straight to the locker room. He didn't even celebrate after the game.
I heard he was constipated. So.
You might be right. He took off.
Hey, Paul, I always get comments all the time, and you might see them if you're scrolling the comment pages on the page on Facebook. But there is also a lot of love for you. People love watching you on this podcast. They can't get enough of you.
That's because he's the funny guy, right?
Yeah,
he's the funny guy. Yep.
Everybody loves.
That's what my wife said. She says he's got so much instant wit.
Yeah, it is. It's instant. It's pretty. Oh, hey, let me ask you real quick because my wife got to see a rocket ship go to space. Do you get to see that stuff where you're at?
I mean, we can see it.
She did a video of it. It was really cool from where they were. I just wanted to ask you that real quick.
Yeah, I could really see it if I were to go about 8 miles east and actually go to the ocean. Then you can see it coming right up over the ocean. It's a pretty incredible sight.
I was laying out in my pool one night, swimming on my back, and watched it go right over my head. It's really cool at night with all the lights and stuff, and you can see them breaking apart in the sky.
I bet
it was amazing because ours goes off from Edwards Air Force Base, which is right here in Kern County.
Yeah, that stuff gets me all excited. I love that stuff. So the wife did a video, and then I got instantly jealous. Wasn't really jealous about anything other than the Pirates of the Caribbean. She got to go on that. But
I love the Pirates. That's my favorite ride. I'll stand in line all day for that one.
All righty, guys. Look at Paul. We better let him go before he falls asleep.
That's true. Guys, thank you for watching. Share this and don't forget to hit the subscribe button, guys.
And like it.
Bye, Terry.
Like it as well, too.
Bye, Terry.
Bye, Terry.
Hi, Terry. You've been quiet lately. We could use your comments.